Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we're checking out another Harbor Freight item. This is a Gordon handheld knife sharpener. I saw this and I bought it on a whim because it was a whopping $2.99. A $3 knife sharpener. I know so many of you guys and gals out there, you've been enjoying your knives and you just don't like sharpening. I get the question every single day. Someone asks me some kind of sharpening question. And it can be very frustrating if you don't know how to sharpen knives, or you just have no interest. Is even worse, because then you have really cool knives that get dull, and then what do you do with them? You got to send them back to the company to get sharpened, or ask a friend to sharpen them, or whatever. And then there's like the people who are kind of interested in sharpening, or they just want to do it themselves, and they get so frustrated because they're making different mistakes that are very, very common, which I'll go over in just a second here. But then they get very dissuaded from having to sharpen knives. Like, oh no, it's too much trouble. So here's a couple really basic mistakes that people make, just in case you're one of these people. Hopefully this helps you. Let's pretend this whole box is just a bench stone. That's it. This is a flat bench stone. Today, by the way, for our demo, we're using my Buck and Bear kitchen knife. This is kind of like a steak knife. I've had this for many years. It is Damascus. I've shown this and talked about this multiple times over the years. This happens to be the first dull knife I ran into. I bought this, I wanted to do a demo on it, and just looking around for about 5 minutes, it was hard for me to find a dull knife. I don't have any. I have so many knives around, but most of my folders and fixed blades and stuff, they're sharp. I keep them sharp. But the kitchen knives, I can look through, because I probably have 20 or 30 kitchen knives, and the constant rotation, I don't always sharpen them as often, because when once gets, a knife gets a little bit dull, I'll just switch off to another knife real quick for convenience, and then I'll kind of sharpen a bunch of them at once. So anyway, it was a good go-to to find a somewhat dull knife. It's not actually dull, but it's dull enough where we'll see the difference if this thing works. But anyway, so let's say this is your bench stone. All right, you're coming in sharpened. Number one, do not push so hard. It's probably the most common problem people have, is putting too much pressure down, like really pushing down, like trying to grind it. You don't have to do that. You want to literally just use the weight of the knife. The second biggest thing when people are sharpening is not having enough patience. Sometimes people take a knife with like S35VN. We have all these amazing blade steels now. So you have people who just got into knife stuff, and they'll buy a $150 knife and it's got an incredibly hard premium steel, and they'll take a $10 sharpening stone, and they'll come in and they'll do maybe like 15 passes on either side, and they'll go to test it out and be like, well, what the heck, it's not sharp. It takes a while. Even if you have a soft steel, it takes a little while. You might have to do 20 strokes on either side, 100 strokes, 1,000 strokes. It just depends on so many different factors. But you have to be consistent, and you have to be patient. That is the number one problem, is people aren't patient enough, because no one ever told them. They never had the opportunity to learn about knife sharpening and to realize that it's not about doing 3 passes on either side and you're good to go. You could strop a couple passes and be fine. If you already have a sharp edge, you can maintain that edge by stropping, but that's different. Sharpening is a process. Sometimes I can sharpen a knife in 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes me 2 hours to sharpen a knife. It just depends. Depends on that blade steel, depends on the equipment I'm using, depends on, if you're hand sharpening, that's the other thing too. When you're hand sharpening, the angle is so important to be consistent. If you're not used to it, you can be creating a sharp edge, and then one of your passes, your angle's too steep, and you just dulled it with one pass. So it can be incredibly frustrating. So anyway, that's why I'm making this video, because I want to try this out. For $3, can anyone just take a knife and sharpen it quickly? We're going to find out. So this is essentially a nice big plastic frame for a age-old, very simple sharpening system, which is 2 ceramic sticks that are affixed at a specific angle so that you could just drag your knife through and not have to think about it. That's it. All right, so let's read this real quick. It says twin ceramic rods for razor sharp edge with little effort, lightweight durable ABS plastic, safe, comfortable, easy to use, simply draw the blade through the V groove. Yeah, there's a million of these sharpeners. You can see little pocket ones, if you're like tackle box or whatever, big old ones like this, but they all have the same principle. It's just these affixed ceramic rods. So for $3, let's check this out. Got a little baggie here. I have to say it feels pretty sturdy. This is essentially all that that's what you bought. It just has a very nice handle on here. There's foam pads, which is nice for the table. All right, so the idea is that you have a very big, sturdy, safe handle to keep this sturdy. Because when you have little pocket ones and you're trying to sharpen, the last thing you want to do is lose a grip and cut yourself, right? So right off the bat, I have to say, I like this. It's got nice finger grooves on it. It's very smooth. And those little pads actually feel very comfortable. So when you're putting a little pressure on the table, it doesn't want to, it kind of grabs a little bit. It doesn't want to slide around too much. So all you have to do is keep the blade straight, okay? Put it down into the V and pull back to sharpen. So first let's do a test. I have my, I just did my EDC going gear video. I inside the paper for that. Let's go ahead and give this a before cut test. Yeah. So this will cut through meat fine with a little bit of pressure, but obviously it's not even sharp enough to slice through paper. Okay, so will this work? Let's see. Nice firm grip, put a little pressure downward. Take this, now obviously I'm holding it so it's comfortable for me, but to give you a proper view, again, you're going to come down, make sure you're on the heel of the blade. All right, and you're going to just pull through straight. You're not going to use a lot of downward pressure. You're just going to keep repeating the process. All right. Now the thing with ceramic rods is if you have a super dull knife, this is not going to do anything, okay? It's not aggressive enough to actually sharpen it. This is fantastic. This type of system is fantastic for a knife that is kind of sharp. I don't know if this is sharp enough for this to help, but this is how you maintain your edge. You don't wait until it gets dull. That's the whole thing with knives, is as it's starting to get used, you maintain that edge to keep it sharp. You don't want it to get so dull that you have to sharpen it. And that's where the whole idea between stropping comes in, and I'm such a huge advocate for stropping. That's a whole separate thing. But for $3, can you take a semi-dull knife and sharpen it? We will see. All right, so I didn't count those strokes. I don't know exactly how many I did, but this definitely seems sharper. Let's go ahead and test it. Yeah, it's sharper for sure. It's not amazing. It's not going to impress your knife friends, but it's getting there. So let's speed this up a little bit. Although you shouldn't speed it up. You should very much take your time, nice and easy, nice and slow. I'm just, for the sake of the video here, of course I can edit, but I just wanted to give like another, maybe, no, let's count them off. Let's do 30 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Now, this is not going to really create, I was going to say you can use a piece of wood, maybe knock off a burr. This is not even going to create a burr. This again is maintaining ceramic rods in a system like this is maintaining, it's keeping an edge sharp that's already semi-sharp. You're not going to sharpen something super dull on this, okay? If you get something similar to this and it has some diamond stones in there, or some other regular stones first, sometimes you'll see a double system where you're starting on regular stones on one side that'll say like coarse or medium or something, and then the fine side would be the ceramics. That's why they're saying fine, because ceramics aren't aggressive enough to sharpen a dull knife. You have to actually sharpen it, and then you're refining that edge with ceramic. Anyway, so let's see. What did that do? Well, there's definitely, hold on, let's see. There's a couple microchips in this blade, probably from bone. That's why it's grabbing. It's definitely sharper. So this thing did do its job, but this needs a lot more work in general. But like, again, for a kitchen knife, for kitchen knife purposes, I mean, you should have a razor sharp in your kitchen, so when you're slicing a tomato, you can get a nice thin slice in that tomato, or there's less resistance when you're cutting into to meat or something like that. But generally speaking, people don't really know what a sharp knife is. Most of America, most of the world, your kitchen cutlery is probably dull. I can walk into 10 houses right now, and 9, if not 10 of them are going to have dull kitchen knives. It's just the way it is, but you are a cut above. That's why you're watching this video. You're into knives, right? So although many of you probably know all kinds about, you know, hand sharpening, and you have cool sharpening systems, that kind of stuff. Just for the average person, just Joe Schmo, doesn't know anything about knives, but has some kitchen knives, maybe has a pocket knife when he goes hunting or something, who knows. This can maintain an edge, but it's important to note that you have to have something to work with to begin with. If it's completely dull, this will not work. However, if you have a sharp knife, and let's say you use it 2 or 3 times, just come in, just very light with barely any pressure, just give it a couple passes. Let's say 3, you know, or 5. Just 5 passes, that's all. It's just gonna keep up and maintain that edge. And for that, I think this is fantastic, and it cannot be beaten for $3. So although it did do its job in sharpening, again, it's not, you know, super impressive. That's a better, cleaner cut. It's getting there, but like I said, because of the chips in here, it's gonna wanna grab at certain points. But it has its limits, but it is awesome because it's so cheap, and I like the design here. Again, you could pay $5, $10, even $20 for a different brand, a different design, but it's literally the same thing. It's the same 2 crisscrossed ceramic rods in there. So if that's what you're looking for, don't pay $20 or $15 or $10 or even $5. Pay the $2.99 at Harbor Freight and get the very nice, big, sturdy handle for it as well. So for that, it's an A+. No, this is not going to sharpen your super premium high-end knives, but you can still maintain your edges on them. It's just most people probably wouldn't. Again, I would just recommend a strop for something very high-end. But if you just have a regular user blade or something, or a beater knife, whatever, these are fantastic. And let's take, like, you know, pocket knives and fixed blades out of the equation. This makes a fantastic gift for anybody. Everyone has a kitchen. Well, most people have a kitchen. I shouldn't say everyone. Most people have a kitchen. Most people have kitchen knives, probably cheap knives. And cheap knives are usually very soft steel, which is a bonus because it's easy to sharpen soft steel. The more expensive your knife is, generally speaking, the higher end the steel is, and the higher end the steel is, the harder it's going to be sharpened. Again, there's many exceptions to that. Those are just generic rules to go by. So your cheap kitchen knife sets from Walmart and stuff, you'll sharpen them up pretty easily on this, okay? As long as you don't let them get too dull. So for that, I would highly, highly recommend getting these. I mean, Christmas time comes around, you got to get gifts for 10 people. What's that, 30 bucks? For 30 bucks, you got 10 cool sharpeners they can all use in their kitchen to maintain their knives. And trust me, they're gonna go from dull to semi-dull, and they're gonna be more than happy and go, wow, that's a great sharpener, because not everyone's into knives, and that's okay. But I do think this is very cool. Specifically for gift giving, but even if you just wanna, you know, play around and just, again, just maintain some of your cheaper blades quickly and efficiently, I think it's very cool. So I'm glad I tried it out. So there you go. There's the Gordon handheld knife sharpener from Harbor Freight. Thumb up. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day. If you happen to have experience with this, let everyone know your experiences down below. Like I said, total impulse purchase, but I'm happy with it, and this will get passed on to someone else who I know could use it. So that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Take it easy.